was not looking for this particular test. I was looking for something completely unrelated to any test online, but it said, what kind of atheist are you? And I came up with the result, weak atheism, which I knew that I was, because the route I took to get there was philosophy, not evolution. I did read up on evolution, and someday I'd like to purchase books on evolution. Not right now. It's not the time for me to buy books on evolution. But, maybe sometime in the future I can buy books on evolution and genes and whatnot and read more into that. But the route I took was philosophy, asking questions like, what is God? Could God be defined something as something that we don't understand yet, and maybe in 500 years we will understand it, we will be able to test things, and then we'll say, oh, so all those things in the past wasn't really God, it was just this thing. And I can't tell you what this thing is because there's a limit to our knowledge. It gets really hairy with the whole First Amendment thing. Let me read it. Just one sentence. I'm on the mattwalshblog.com, and Matt is M-A-T-T. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Keyword Congress, keyword law, keyword establishment of religion, keyword prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So it does get hairy when children are involved, because, who wants to see a child die because some Jehovah's Witness parent refused to have their child have a blood transfusion when the doctor said, your kid needs a blood transfusion, and if he doesn't get it, he's likely to die. And then the child dies because the Jehovah's Witness parent said, no, we're not going to do a blood transfusion. But what humane person would want to see an innocent little child die, right? But I have to remember, I am not that child's parents. It is not my responsibility to do that. If I had children, then I can choose to raise them up the way I want to be raised. It's very hairy also when you get into, public school. I wouldn't want some teacher praying in public at a public school. I wouldn't want that. And then there's, of course, the dangers of religion. It's very dangerous. And it could hurt a lot of people. There's a lot of bullying that goes on when a child is an atheist. And when I mean child, I mean a child that can think. Depending on the child, some children mature much faster than others. But for me, I started asking philosophical questions about what God is when I was 13. Maybe other children start asking that when they're 10 or when they're 8. Children are smart, and I think a lot of people don't give children enough credit because they become smart very quickly. And they start asking questions. Look, 3-year-olds ask, why? So that's the brain at work. Children are curious. But it's hairy because the free exercise thereof, what am I supposed to do? Say, all churches stop soul winning? If you don't know what soul winning is, look it up. It's a Baptist term. It's basically trying to get people over to the other side, to Jesus' side, so they can be saved and go to heaven. Do I believe it? No, of course not. I don't believe it. But, what am I supposed to say? It's brainwashing? Am I supposed to say, you're brainwashing everybody and it's wrong and you can't do that? Well, I would be infringing upon their right, because the Bible says to go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come into Jesus' house. Can I say, don't talk to me about your God? Yeah. Can I say, if you want to talk to me about your God, fine, but don't try to convert me? Sure, I can say that. And I would say 8 times out of 10, I would say most people, when I say I'm an agnostic or atheist, most Christians assume that I have never heard the Jesus story, and not only that I never heard it, but I don't understand it. And that's very interesting for them to assume something so big that I have never heard nor understood the Jesus story. I mean, that's pretty amazing. It's kind of sad, but, during the mirror thing, oftentimes I'm a mirror to other people, so I turn the mirror on myself and say, well, how many times have I assumed something of other people or something of another group of people, just assumed something a lot of times. So, yeah, all I can say is, don't come to my door. If you want to talk about God, let's talk philosophically. But if you want to convert me and that's your motive, leave. Just go to someone else. And that's really basically all I can do. And that's really basically all anyone can do. I can't tell Jehovah's Witnesses stop going door to door. Do I want them telling other people about this thing that they believe in? No. Do I believe it? No. But can I stop them? No, because I would be infringing upon their right to do that. And it gets hairy with children. When children are involved, it just gets really monstrous when children are involved, because children will believe anything you tell them. And children are smart. Children are very, very smart. Some children stop believing in Santa Claus at the age of 3 or 4 or 5. So if they stop believing in Santa Claus at 3 or 4 or 5, and if they're taught to question things and they're taught to ask questions, maybe a child would not believe in any God by the time they're 7 or 6. But children would basically believe anything. Children are very impressionable, and the sad thing is, it's not my responsibility for me to put the burden on myself for all the children not getting blood transfusions because some group says no. And that goes with pretty much all radical groups. And there is a lot of harm in a lot of religion. There is. Look at the religions in the Congo or Nigeria or whatever, and their religious practices. They whip a man and everything, and they hurt them, and they burn the breasts of women and everything like that, and they do all these horrific things, and it's part of their culture, Is it humane? No, but it's part of their religion, that's where I am. I'm a weak atheist. I came there through philosophy. I'm not a hard atheist, like, there is no God, there is no God. I don't know if there is. I have doubts that there is. I question, why does there have to be a God? I even question, what about a God inside of us? And I don't mean like a little Jesus. No. I'm talking about Eastern philosophy. That's what I'm talking about. Spiritual beings in a human body. And the Eastern philosophy with the God in us, the deity in us, is completely different from having a little Jesus inside of you and going to heaven. It has nothing to do, the Eastern philosophy has nothing to do with going to heaven when you die and being saved and missing hell. It has nothing to do with that. So I believe in the mystery of life. That's what I believe in. And maybe in 500 years we'll have the answer, if there's a God or not. And maybe in 500 years we'll have the technology to be able to test things, and then we'll say, oh, that's what it was. It wasn't God, it was this thing over here. So all those years we were attributing this miraculous miracle to this, and it wasn't really a miracle, it was this. Wouldn't that be interesting? I would love to see the day where we can test this God thing, and maybe we're just not meant to know. Maybe man has an innate need to believe in something. Maybe. I don't know. And I'll close with this. I took a test online about a week ago, and it said, what were you in your past life? It said Greek philosopher. Duh.